Institutions and whales are pouring millions of dollars into this one crypto narrative on one specific blockchain. And today, you've guessed it, we're going to be covering many different projects on this blockchain. This narrative, in my opinion, is going to be one of the better ones for this altcoin season. And what better time to look at these projects before they really start running. So if you are enjoying this type of content, make sure you subscribe if you want more, as well as smash the like button, and let's talk about these projects and this narrative. We have a whole lot to talk about today. So the narrative we're talking about is artificial intelligence as well as AI agents, and the ecosystem slash blockchain we're looking into is none other than the base L2. So diving right into it, first and foremost, what we need to look at is Coinbase Ventures. What are they doing with their money? Coinbase Ventures, of course, we're talking about Coinbase. We're talking about the company that is now in the S&P 500 that has reached all-time highs just over the last few weeks. They've recently invested in a project called BankerBot. This is native to the base blockchain, the L2 to Ethereum. Now, they are essentially very excited to support BankerBot via the base ecosystem fund, which essentially means that they've made a monetary investment into this ecosystem of BankerBot. And they are saying one of the reasons for this is because the platform or the AI agent is integrated in the base app, which is the new base wallet, and that trading agents can react faster than humans, operate 24/7, and potentially make more data-informed decisions. And we're excited to see how these innovations can enhance market efficiency. So first and foremost, let's back up a little bit, because I still believe that the base L2 is going to be one of the best L2s this altcoin season. Like I've said time and time in other videos, the base blockchain hasn't seen its own bull market. And as we're gearing up towards this alt season, as Ethereum is just around 3,700, I do extremely believe that Ethereum is going to break that $4,000 resistance and really reach new all-time highs at this cycle. And I do think that's going to bring the base ecosystem along with it. And of course, if it brings the base ecosystem with it, I do imagine that some of these base projects are going to do extremely well. And if you're looking at narratives within the base ecosystem, I strongly believe that artificial intelligence, AI agents, anything that can help onboard new users to crypto or make crypto easier to understand or investments easier to understand is kind of a no-brainer. And that is why we're going to be looking at some of these projects today. So if we dive deeper into BankerBot, it's absolutely super simple. What you have here is a platform, kind of a terminal that you can go in and ask questions or make it interact for you so that you don't necessarily have to go and swap tokens, send tokens, buy tokens, or whatever the case may be. So you do have a full platform here. As you sign up, you link your Twitter with it, you link your wallet with it. We can put essentially anything to this bot and it's going to execute it for us. If I want, market data on a banker, I hit submit. It's going to bring me to this terminal page where you can go and really interact with it. And if you have a free version of Banker, you get 10 free daily messages. And if you want more, then that is where their subscription model comes in play. One of the ways that, they're making money with this project is they have a $20 fee or an annual fee. People pay for it and essentially pay in Banker tokens. And if you look at the Banker charts, well, we can see that it's gone from practically nothing. In January, it had a peak of about 30 million. Then the whole, market was kind of choppy for AI. Banker actually held quite nicely. It went back down to about $14 million. But with the news of Coinbase Ventures supporting this project, it went all the way to 112 million. And right now it's around $80 million in terms of market cap. And I do strongly believe that this one here has more room to go. Of course, it's not financial advice. It is all going to depend on how the altcoins market really react. But if you have institutions like Coinbase Ventures supporting a project like this, integrating it within their Coinbase wallets and having, millions of people interact with it on a day-to-day basis, it kind of just fits the narrative. And even though, $80 million worth of market cap may seem like a lot, and you may not think that you're going to make a whole lot of money on it, I do think that you should put it on your watch list if you are interested in the base L2 and if you are interested in AI agents, because typically speaking, institutions can push projects quite heavily, especially when we get euphoric market conditions. So before we go into project number 2, I wanted to go a little bit deeper into Banker and the tech behind it, because I do think there's likely going to be a whole other narrative on top or underlying this AI agent meta. So if you look at what we have here, we have Deployer, who is the developer of Banker, and he says that Banker API is powered by X402. We're going to take a look at what this means in a second, but simply pay a small amount of Banker per request and send prompts to BankerBot, or, the terminal that we just looked at, and that is all done programmatically. And if you look at Brian Armstrong, who is in fact the CEO of Coinbase, he says it's great to see early growth of X40 protocol, which makes it easy to attach a payment to any API call. Now, without getting into too many details here, you can understand that within, different data sources, you can make API calls via different programs and essentially grab data from other, programs. And what this BankerBot API does is it allows people to utilize this API call, or Banker's API, to make a request via BankerBot, the terminal. But in order to do so, people have to pay a small fee in Banker. So that gives another utility to the BankerBot project, or to the Banker token, giving it, more reason to exist. And if you're interested in learning a little bit more about, the SDK, which is the software development kit, and all about BankerBot's SDK and API, well, you can read upon it. But what you really need to understand here is that if you, let's say, want to make a request via this API, each request is going to cost 10 cents in Banker coin. And if you, are requesting it via API and you want to buy $5 of Banker, well, it will return transaction data that you can then execute with any wallet. So essentially speaking, you're going to have to pay a small fee to utilize Banker's API. And you can see the amount of downloads that we've had over the last week. It has, kind of skyrocketed as people are getting more familiar with Banker's API. So that's another very interesting use case. And of course, that is another way that more users could likely land on a Banker, but have a different front end, but ultimately using Banker's API, paying Banker fees, and supporting the Banker project. So I wanted to just bring that into question here, because if you really look at what's been happening over the last few weeks, we have data here from this Dune Analytics dashboard, and you can see that the hypergrowth on X402 protocols these last 2 weeks, as on-chain agent commerce keeps growing, this is what's been happening over the last few weeks. You're seeing more and more projects utilize this API call, which allows for payments, and that's exactly what the Banker API is. As people request it, they're paying in Banker tokens. So keep this one closely on your watch list, as well as look at other AI agent projects that are utilizing this X402 protocol so that they can also generate fees with their own API calls. So if that was a little too technical for you, let's go back to the basics and look at other projects that Coinbase Ventures has actually been supporting and investing in over the last few weeks. Now, this is a website that I continuously use. Highly recommend you guys check it out as well. It's cryptorank.io, and you can actually search for different funds. Here we're looking at Coinbase Ventures, and if you're unfamiliar with how this website works, well, it gives you everything that, these funds are investing in. It breaks it down into many different categories, and as we can see, Coinbase Ventures is highly invested and interested in artificial intelligence, AI agents, payments, gaming studios, and lending. So if we take a look at some of their recent investments, which is actually going to link back to BankerBot, well, you can see that they've invested about 19 days ago in this XMTP, and that is a blockchain service for encryption, for privacy, so that people don't have access to your messages as you're utilizing some of these AI agents. So if we go back to the BankerBot website, well, there are more ways to connect with Banker. As we can see, you can chat with it on X, you can tweet at it, you can talk to it on Farcaster, you can talk to it to MEXC and more. And as we can see, this is coming soon to Banker. And if we go into some of the details on MEXC, well, on its website, they say it's the largest and more secure decentralized messaging network. They have over 2 million plus connected identities, 1,000 developers, 60 plus production apps. And this is what Coinbase Ventures has recently invested in. They don't have a token as of just yet, but again, keep it on your radar because this is, again, going into privacy. We all know that blockchain, Web3, needs privacy. That is one of the main drivers for the space. And this is, one of these projects, blockchain service, that integrates privacy with many different apps such as Banker. So essentially in the future, you're going to be able to go into MEXC and chat with Banker, and it's all going to be encrypted, all going to be private, so that you don't have any chances of your messages becoming a leak to the public or whatever the case may be. So this is another one that I would keep on, the radar. MEXC, definitely interesting in the privacy sector, and all combining that with artificial intelligence. Now, project number 3, we are talking about Mamo. This is one of the projects for portfolio management, and it's also using an AI agent, because let's not kid ourselves. If you're not familiar with crypto and you're trying to earn passive income, or you're trying to earn yield and you're going into DeFi strategies, lending, borrowing, it can get a little bit complicated, especially if you are new in crypto. So the whole premise of Mamo is to, in fact, deposit into one platform and let this AI agent earn yield for you by utilizing different yield strategies on the base blockchain. So we're talking about Morpho, we're talking about Moonwell, and we're talking about this AI agent controlling all of what's happening, which pools to take the yield from, and so on and so forth. So it's as simple as 3 steps. You create a Mamo account, you deposit some funds, you watch your money grow. And as we can see, there are different APIs available depending on the assets that you choose. But ultimately speaking, this is another very interesting project that's blown up recently because of the interest of new people coming on chain, trying to find passive income or yield opportunities, and trying to facilitate everything to not have to do it for yourself. And that is the whole premise of Mamo. And another very important aspect of this is that Coinbase Ventures, of course, invested in it, and it's recently been listed on the Coinbase exchange, which ultimately brought even more eyes to the project. So if you look at Mamo's chart, well, it is doing phenomenally well. Looking at it right now, we can see it's at 17 cents, roughly a market cap of 56 million. But again, we are not in an altcoin season. We're not seeing a whole lot of hype on altcoins, even though it's been listed on a Coinbase Ventures, and you see about $4.5 million in the one day that this was listed. It is right around some resistance around that 17-cent mark. So after that, you're essentially in a price discovery for Mamo. Not financial advice, but definitely one to keep your eyes on, because like I said, it makes it a whole lot easier. It has support from Coinbase, and what's not to like about this project. So keep it on your radar. Again, not financial advice. Now, in coordination with that project, I would highly recommend putting Morpho on your watch list. Morpho is at $1.80. You look at it over the last year, back in December, January is at $3. I do think that this is, one of the top lending / borrowing projects on a base. And on top of that, you can look at Moonwell, which is kind of the little brother of Morpho. and we can see it's at 3 cents. It has a valuation of 100 million versus Morpho at 600 million. But Mamo is utilizing both of these platforms to earn yield from it. And if you are looking at, just the individual platform to have governance in it, or to just think that this platform is going to bring more users and more volume, well, ultimately speaking, you would imagine that the underlying token would go up. So keep those two on your radar as well, as they are, heavily suppressed compared to what we've seen them back in December, January. Now, moving on to the next project, which actually doesn't have a token out yet. We can go on to Nook Savings. We're on CryptoRank.io here. The reason for this is you can see that Coinbase Ventures actually invested in Nook, which is, another reason why I'm bringing this one up. So Nook Savings is, like you can understand by the name, it's a platform that you can actually earn some different APYs, very similar to Mamo, and it's all built on Base. And as we can see, they have actually received a shout out from Brian Armstrong after the earnings calls that they had just over the last week. So Brian Armstrong is aware of this project. It doesn't have a token. It may or may not have one, but again, put it on your watch list. Put it on your, go follow them on Twitter. Stay up to date with this project, because if we look at what they are offering in terms of products, it is, again, like I said, similar to what Mamo is offering. But looking at their website, of course, you can earn more than a bank account because, banks are just not it. But if you look at the different APYs that they have, you have here about 7.5% over the last 12 months. Obviously, that's going to fluctuate. But again, it is invested in platforms like Moonwell, Morpho, and Aave. And the interest that's been paid out is over $85 million. So Nook, another one I would keep on my watch list, especially since they don't have a token. And again, it doesn't necessarily mean that a token is going to come out, but ultimately speaking, this is another one that I would highly be putting on my watch list. Follow them on Twitter, because you never know if they do come out with a token. They do have a whole lot of users, and they are still relatively new compared to some other projects, and they do have the support of Coinbase Ventures. So we've looked at a few projects already, but I do have 2 more I wanted to quickly share with you guys. If you are enjoying the content up to this point, make sure you like the video. And if you want to see what I am doing in the crypto space, we do have a premium Discord. It's the first link in the description below. Have a look at it. You're going to be able to see what I buy, what I sell, the market research that we do, and you're going to be able to stay up to date with some of these projects. So if you're interested in joining that community before we get an altcoin season, it is definitely something you can consider by checking out the first link in the description below. Now, the before last project is Indexy.xyz. This is all about tracking crypto markets with smart indexes. So again, we're talking about portfolio management here, not necessarily an AI-based project to say, but if you look at their website, it is still quite interesting as they are still in beta mode. And if you look at it, well, looking at the different things you can see on here, we have different trending indexes, and you can basically, go click on one, and then it's going to let you know what that index is holding, and you can essentially track that index. As we can see here, we have the index component. Let me move my face. You have AIXBT, Ethereum, Coinbase, Wrapped Bitcoin, Indexy, Banker, you have Noise, you have Mamo, so on and so forth. And you can see what has happened to this index over a given period of time. Now, of course, that all depends on a market condition, and these indexes can be created by anyone on the platform, but you are able to differ and track different indexes as they become available. You can essentially track it or buy it ultimately and essentially invest in that index. And as you can see, you have the 7-day returns, you have the new indexes, you have the other assets, and so on and so forth. So this is a very interesting and new project that is very similar to other portfolio management projects that I've seen in the past. We have AI agents doing trades in portfolios that you can then, buy and essentially have that portfolio managed by an AI agent. And here you have indexes that you can go and track and even buy to follow other people's performances. And if you are, biased in one way or another, you can track your different indices as you wish. The reason I'm bringing this one up here is because it's still sitting at a very low market cap. It is just relatively new. It launched in mid-June. It's sitting at under $10 million worth of market cap. I do not own any of this. It's not promotion whatsoever. It is just a project that I am putting on my watch list. The chart looks relatively good. And again, this is in the portfolio management space that I'm currently looking in. It's on the Base blockchain and it fits into some of the criterias that I have for my investing portfolio. But again, like I said, I don't own any of this. I have it on my watch list and I'm just continuing to monitor, but thought I'd share it with you guys if you weren't familiar with it. So last but not least, if we go back to the Coinbase venture page on a crypto rank, which again, bookmark it, highlight it, whatever you want to do with it, we can talk about BillyBet by Virtuals. The reason I want to talk about this one is because it is in the predictions market narrative, and I do think there is going to be another hype or another wave in prediction markets, especially in the Coinbase wallet. There are these mini apps, and prediction markets are likely going to be very popular at some point in time. In the top of the altcoin season, when people have too much money, don't know what to do with it, they're going to go into, gambling or predictions. I don't endorse that whatsoever. But Coinbase Ventures went ahead and invested $1 million in BillyBets by Virtual. If you look at BillyBets by Virtual, we're looking at a project at $6 million worth of market cap. And Coinbase Ventures just invested $1 million in this project. Again, we're not sure at what valuation or whatever the case may be. But if you're looking at a $6 million project, Coinbase Ventures, being the behemoth that they are, sure, they can afford to throw darts here and there, but to put $1 million in a project like this, it has me looking at it. And by looking at this chart, it does seem like there's some sort of consolidation around a 0.4 of a penny. Again, it's an absolute gamble. Don't put more money that you can't afford to lose in this project because it is a $6 million project. Anything can happen with it, but very interesting that Coinbase Ventures did go ahead and invest in this project. And if you look at their Twitter, well, go give them the follow just to, keep up to date with this project. It says it's the sharpest AI agent in the game. We have different tickets that they have here, different plays in the sports betting realm. But of course, like I said, I don't endorse sports gambling. I don't endorse gambling whatsoever. But this could be a narrative that yet again speaks volume come a peak in the altcoin season, and people are looking for more ways to make money, with the backing of, some of the top tier institutional investors in Coinbase Ventures. So those are some of the projects I'm currently looking at on the Base ecosystem, backed by Coinbase Ventures, invested by, some of the top whales in the space. So if you did enjoy this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss videos like this, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Peace.